Charlie, are you good? Good evening. My name is Susan Stevenson. I'm the chair of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation of the Village of Southampton. I'm calling this meeting on April 22nd, 2019 to order. Do I have a motion to open the
I make a
meeting?
motion that we open this meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation on April 22nd, 2019.
Second, aye.
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 Great. Before we begin, I want to make it clear that I expect everyone, the board and the public, to act and speak with civility during this meeting. Anyone who wants to speak should sign in at the front table up here on that sheet, so we have a correct spelling of your name. No one may approach and speak until you are recognized by the chair. If you're presenting materials, please place them on the desk facing the board, facing us, so our videographer can get a shot of them. Now I'd like to introduce our board for tonight. To my left, Rob Coburn, Christina Redding. To my right, Jeff Broadley. Curtis Highsmith will not be with us tonight. Our counsel, Bo Robinson.
Zach
Is
emailed me
coming
and said
later.
he will be later.
The historic consultant will be here in time for the historic applications. Our videographer, Charles Styler, and our recording secretary, Antoinette Edwards. Okay, let's begin. First, minutes. March 25th, 2019.
Did you have a chance to review those?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes for March 25th, 2019, as amended.
Second.
Aye.
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 How about April 8th? Good with that? I am.
Similarly, make a motion that we accept the minutes for April 8th, 2019.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on. Signs. First, U.S. Bank, 16 Hampton Road, storefront and window. Good evening. Please state your name.
Diana Laspisa with Morano Expediting Services, 4 Hamilton Court, Quorum, New York, 11727. We were here before the board on April 8th for the signs on the south and the west elevation. No, that's okay. And the board, I don't know if you recall, there was initially a silver backing and the signs were larger. So we did go back, we revised them. They were made smaller. The one on the south elevation, which is the rear of the building, faces the parking lot. Initially, it was proposed at 33.3 square feet. We're now proposing 18.8 square feet. The backing will be white to match the building. And then on the west elevation, which is the side of the building, we initially proposed 16.3 square feet, and now it's 12 square feet.
And are those signs, they're the same size or slightly smaller in one case than the previous signs? Is that
Slightly
right?
smaller.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the responsiveness. The change in color is welcome from the silver to the white, and the size, I think, is still very visible. I think it's good branding, and I have no problem with it.
Thank you for being responsive. I have
Oh, no problem. Thank you for your comments.
Good by me.
Okay. Wanna vote?
Any public comments? Okay. Can we do these together? Does anyone have a problem with it's both of them? It's two
I think
separate
we should vote
applications.
separately just
Okay.
to do it.
Well, I will make a
Motion?
motion that we approve the rear signage, the south-facing signage for US Bank as
Second.
amended. Aye.
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 I will also make a motion that we approve the west-facing side signage for US Bank.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
So
Aye.
is this the only graphic that we have of the new signs? That's what I'm having.
Yes.
So I have to sign these things, so it's like, okay.
Yeah, there should be
No.
one for each.
Okay, great. No problem. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a
you.
good night.
You
You too.
You know what, I'll just do this tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, hand it back to me. and The next is New York Pilates.
Okay, we have to clip, I lost the paper.
Here, I've got paper clips.
Great, next.
US Pilates.
Richard Stott from Stott Architecture for New York Pilates. I have,
I think last time we just didn't know what the material was, sir, Mr.
I don't
Simon?
think there wasn't last time. Did they already present?
Yes?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
okay.
weren't here. No one showed up. We tried to do it. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so they called me and asked if I would
Okay,
present
fine.
for them.
So it
So I
was a-
have some more information for you.
Okay. If you could hand that to Antoinette, thank you.
Whoops.
Thank you.
The snarky look at the application, self-explanatory.
The last time, in addition to the, nobody being here, there's no listing of materials.
Right, and then someone has written on this, it's self-explanatory. We actually need it written down. It's not self-explanatory, just in future. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so it's about 8 inches tall and 5 3/4 of feet long, and there'll be 2 signs, one in each of the spaces above the window areas in each of those 2 windows.
Would you mind
At
tearing
number
those,
5 Windmill Lane.
is this,
Show
could
the
you tear that
second
apart and show the second sheet so
Sure.
it can be picked up by
Yeah.
the, thank you.
Does it, I don't
Charlie,
mind
the
that.
second sheet will show the 2 different locations, a little blurry, but it shows the 2
Yeah,
different
I'm sorry about the
locations.
blurriness. That
Sorry,
That's all right.
we had to get a photo from Google Earth.
and they're pin signs, correct? Where that goes into the building with no other backing?
Correct.
Is there anyone from the public who wants to comment on this sign, these 2 signs? I think it looks very nice and clean, thank you.
Looks very clean and very Pilates-ish.
Getting very
So-
exercise-oriented in Southampton these days. We got all kinds of things going on here.
We're all going to be so healthy.
I will make a motion that we accept the application for New York Pilates for signs over each of their storefronts as presented.
Second,
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
Next, Mint, 89 Main Street, storefront and window sign, and also Mint awning. Right?
I'm not, I-
Oh,
I'm not
you're
here.
not
for-
the awning?
I am not here
You're
for the
just
awning,
the
I'm here
sign.
just for the signs.
Okay.
So that's the signs.
Go ahead. Your name?
Stacy
Stacy.
Menzer, Hampton Signs.
I think it looks nice. Go ahead.
Very
What is it made out of?
It's the acrylic.
And it's just on the building?
It is just pin lettering on the building, plus the window sign as well, down below,
And the door sign?
and the door sign, which is the number, the website, and the phone number.
Does anyone object to any of that?
No, I love it.
I think it's fine. I'm wondering about the height of the, not the number on the door, but the other lettering seems to be at eye height. And I'm just wondering, is there a reason why it's at that height?
So people
people
walking
can
in
read
can
it?
see it.
Right. Okay.
I don't actually have I think it's pretty clean and not very obtrusive personally.
I'm fine with it.
Looks good to me.
Anyone from the public have any comments on the sign for Mint? Okay.
I'll make
Motion?
a motion that we approve the signage for Mint at 89 Main Street.
That's
It's the
Storefront
storefront
and
sign
window sign.
and the window decals and the door decals.
yeah, door.
Seconded it?
Second,
Aye.
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 Okay, who's got the awning for Mint? Please step forward and state your name. I don't remember seeing the awning.
There's little spots in there.
Pretty,
Hi, my name is Carol Duffy. I'm with East End Awning.
hi.
Hi.
So is
It's got swept.
it dropping out, or this is going to be a darker green?
No, it's the reverse, actually. The fabric is the green, is the sea, and it's white.
It's a dropout. Okay.
It'll be dry. And there's a picture of the existing we did last year for Sugarfina. So it's basically taking the turquoise out and putting in the sea.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
A copy of that for the table?
Could you show this?
Sure.
Oh. And then you're going to have to give it back to me.
Yep.
Okay.
Just put it on the table.
Thanks, Cheryl.
It's hard to like that.
That's great. Yep. Perfect. So the awning is going to be the color that's on, the swatch that's on there? Could you just
Exactly,
flip
yeah.
that back over?
Sure. It's called C, it's umbrella C,
And the lettering will be white?
white, exactly.
I have no objection.
Objection.
Looks good
Is
to
there
me.
anyone from the public who wants to talk about the mint sign? Nope. Motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the awning for Mint on Main Street.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Aye.
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 And if you could hand that back.
Can you, yeah, we need that. That's good. It has to go on the file. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anything to sign? Next,
Is
Brooks Brothers.
Brothers.
Yay.
And there's actually 3 different
Everything's
applications.
so laid back now.
There's
Here's
3
Mint.
different applications. Thank you, Susan.
So there's awning, spelled with an N,
I didn't spell it.
storefront and window.
Michael Colamucci, North Shore Neon Sign Company, Deer Park, New York. We're the installer here. Basically, this is, the storefront sign is consisting of a bronze metal panel with cutout letters, white letters reading Brooks Brothers. I have a sample here of both the letters and the bronze aluminum.
Yeah, can I just put, no, I don't want to touch it. I want to
Oh.
just, could you put it like,
Oh,
it should be
yeah.
seen?
Down on the table.
Yeah.
The bronze part.
Basically, there's an existing sign panel there on the storefront now that's existing. The landlord pretty much told them they wanted them to use that space, that actual panel. So what you'll see is that there's actually a framed panel on the storefront now. It's the same size as that panel. So I'm assuming that that was an existing sign at some time. Not illuminated, it's just a bronze panel, like I said, with cutout white letters that would read Brooks Brothers.
Cut out or,
Cut out individual
it-
letters, so there's some depth to the letters,
okay.
a half-inch thick.
And that's AZAC with letters?
Yes, it is.
Does anyone have any objection to any of this?
As far as the awning goes, the
Let's take
awning,
them one at a time.
Oh,
though.
sure.
We have several applications. Should we vote
Yeah,
on
let's
this?
take care of the first one.
Any comments from the public on the storefront sign with the raised letters? Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the storefront sign for Brooks Brothers.
Second.
Aye.
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 This isn't stamped.
You want to go to the awning now?
sure. The awning's existing, it's a retractable awning. Basically, it's just a matter of reskinning the awning with this material. There's no valance there now, but there is a tracking for a valance. So the proposal was to have an 8-inch valance with a very small graphic, which you can barely see, which is the logo, which is some kind of hanging sheep type of thing. I'm really not sure. But this is, it's a poor rendition, not a rendition that we made, but they're just basically showing it as a new cover.
And this is a navy blue color?
Yes,
the
it
awning?
is.
Okay, and the
The graphic would
face
be
is
white.
red or white?
The white. The red markings on there are just showing you the sizes.
I don't have the,
Awning?
yeah, I don't have the
There's
awning.
another application, is it that?
Oh, that's it. Okay, got it. Sorry. Well, yes. Okay.
Any questions on the awning?
The lettering, is there lettering on
Yeah,
it?
it's just a very small graphic that is, this is a better rendition of it. It's like
Oh,
a
I
sheep
know, it's the little
hanging type, I'm not
fleece.
sure what it
Yes,
is.
got it.
I don't know what it is.
It's a
gonna
fleece.
be honest.
They
And
call
you're
it.
adding a valance to it?
Correct.
So when it's retracted, it...
Yeah, the valance would always be existing or seen.
Anyone from the public want to comment on the awning for Brooks Brothers, or the signs for that matter?
I'll make a motion that we approve the awning for Brooks Brothers on Main Street.
Second.
Aye.
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 And the last item is the final graphics in the window.
How big are they?
Actually, the overall height of the script letter is 4.5 or 4.25 inches tall.
Oh, I see that,
It
sorry.
spreads out about 27
Okay.
inches. It's shown in the rendering as black, but it is supposed to be white. White letters in the glass.
And it's 2 versions of that, one in each
Correct.
window?
I don't have any problems with that either.
I'm glad to hear
Be
that.
glad to have
Public comment? Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the window decal lettering for Brooks Brothers on Main Street.
Second.
I did have a question, please.
Sure.
There was something that showed up as sign C.
The blade sign.
What is that?
Basically, those are not considered legal in the town, so Brooks Brothers wasn't aware of that when they made the proposal, so they deleted the application.
Okay, so that, it
Yeah,
shows
that-
up on, as a version of a sign on some of the
Correct.
graphics, but that's been withdrawn? Okay.
Correct.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just one more thing, Rod.
Okay.
It's like 1,000 pieces of paper.
Good? That's all.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next, Toomey, Latham, Shea, Kelly, Dubin, and Quattararo, 200 North Sea Road, storefront and wall sign. Stacy.
Stacy Menzer, Hampton Signs. Toomey, Latham, Shea has recently rebranded, and they are moving to 200 North Main Street. And we're asking for two signs.
Sandblasted cedar.
Sandblasted cedar, one next to the door and one on the side of the building.
Do you have another, is there one more of these things?
Yes, there is, sorry. Which one are you looking at first, the front? Maybe
Well,
the
if I saw
parking?
the second one, I'd tell you what I was looking at.
Yeah.
So
That's
this
near
is the
parking
front?
lot. That's right, at the parking lot.
Let's do the, this
The
is
the 38 by 9.5 is the front sign, which is
Okay,
going
let's
next to
do
the
the
door.
front first. I have no objection.
I don't either. Looks
Anyone
nice.
from the public have anything to say about this? Nope.
I'll make a motion that we approve the office front sign for Toomey Latham at 200 North Main Street.
Second.
Aye.
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 Next, parking lot sign or whatever, the side sign?
It's the side of the building.
Wall sign. This is pretty big, huh?
It's a very big building.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty building, I must say. So this is, big, but it's okay.
I think in fairness
Yes,
also,
it's a huge building,
it's
I
also
agree.
showing up whiter on there than it won't appear whiter than the
Right.
trim, which is what it looks like.
Well, it also, that building sits in a way that you have no idea what's in,
Right.
what's in it. I used to want to know. All right.
Now you will.
Now I will. Thanks,
Any
Stacy.
public comment? Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the wall signage facing North Sea Road for Toomey Latham.
Second.
Aye.
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 Great. Next, Hampton Hot Yoga.
There we go.
Oh, Stacy. I wasn't in love with this.
Why not?
I thought it was a little too splashy, but maybe.
Twist was this color.
Looks hot.
It's the, I don't like the font. I know they have another place in the Bridgeton.
This is their logo.
There's two applications here, right? The awnings and
The awning, right.
storefront sign,
And in
which-
fact, the awning that you have is changed because they're not asking for that anymore. They're asking just for a Hampton Hot Yoga or hot yoga
Are
going
they
on
taking the
them.
lettering off the awnings? We have an awning.
The awnings that are there now are currently purple because of the store that was there. So they are asking for the awnings to be changed to orange.
But with the lettering right below the lettering?
Well, you know,
The sign?
Well, the lettering up on top is always hard to see. So what they're asking for is that the awnings come out to cover and to also have the lettering on that so people can see it more easily as they're walking by.
And what lettering is on it? I'm sorry, I can't see it.
Right now, what we're asking for is hot yoga.
This isn't on this. Do you have another piece of paper?
I don't.
There should be another one for just the awnings.
There was, but it had different lettering. It said Hot Yoga and Dr. Corrine.
Right,
was
so
the one I saw.
it's that awning, it's just now it's going to have hot yoga on both of them.
Stacy, are you going to do anything on the windows?
At this time, I don't think so.
So wait,
But we don't have an
We don't
application
have-
that shows that. Nothing's been stamped into the
Does-
file that shows that lettering.
does she
But you
have
saw
that?
the other one, so I'm not sure where did you see the other
I
one?
saw one that said Hot Yoga and Dr. Corine.
Right, where is that?
It's not here, I don't know where it is. No idea.
We're
It's
not-
not in, it's not either of the ones I gave you?
All I have is this.
Because
Oh,
it says
wait,
here,
there's
it says
another
here.
one. Wait a minute. Some, wasn't given, yeah. Hot yoga, Dr. Kareem.
Right, so we're not going to do the Dr. Kareen in place of that. We're still going to have the awnings, and those are both going to say hot yoga.
Well, I'm not in favor of saying hot yoga 3 times within a small space. That's me. So I would not be approving one or the other. I think the awnings could be orange and the sign could be above, but I think it's a pretty splashy sign, and I don't see why we need to say that 12 times. I just think it's
Yeah,
too much.
I agree. That's what- that's what I was
think this looks
asking.
okay, which doesn't show any, I don't know what.
Or could it say yoga? Just say yoga on them? If, I understand that the concern is that
Well,
when
hot
they're
yoga
out-
is different from yoga. It's a whole
Right.
different concept.
What do you think?
My initial reaction was the font was over the top.
Okay.
On the other hand, I heard Christina saying that maybe it's okay, and if she likes it, I'll go with that. But to add on top of that, to repeat it twice to Susan's standpoint, which is why I was asking about the window lettering. If you had something subtle on the window, then you'd accomplish your concern about people not seeing the tops.
There's no way
uppermost
they're
sign.
not seeing this.
No, I
I'm
know.
sorry. That's what I find
But
unfortunate.
there also, there are trees there that are blocking it in the summer. It is not the easiest thing to see.
Nevertheless.
So let me ask you a question. If we remove it from, and I don't know that the customer wants to do this, but if we remove it from the awning and do put it on, have window graphics, can we get that approved?
No.
Not without the
Because
design.
I'm
So
having
you'd have to
an
come back
issue.
to us, but you got 1 out of 2. That ain't
I-
bad, Stacy.
I don't like, I think this is sort of not in keeping with the Village of Southampton, that font, honestly. I know it's their brand, so I would be willing to believe that and go with it, but I'm not willing to have much else going on.
Okay.
And I don't think, frankly, this looks, the orange awnings, sound like Trump, orange,
Be careful.
are pretty showy, given your swatch, right? I mean, it's not something you would ignore. So I'd be willing to approve the Hampton's Hot Yoga sign in the font that I find unattractive and not in keeping with the village, but,
Let's maybe vote on, I think we're all in
so
agreement,
we'll
gentlemen. Let's
agree
vote
with
on
the
that
hot
sign.
yoga sign.
Is there any public comment on the storefront sign, Hampton's Hot Yoga? It shows above the doorway on the graphic here. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the storefront sign for Hampton's Hot Yoga.
Second.
Aye.
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 Yep.
And I think what I'm hearing is that the understandable concern about making sure that the signage or identification is visible to pedestrians as they walk by. Not sure that's accomplished if the awnings were out anyway, and sense that the awnings, the color of the awnings is interesting, but that having lettering on it, certainly the full name again, is not something that the board feels comfortable with. Maybe a white window decal or something along those lines to come in. But I think probably would be willing to approve plain awnings. Is that correct? Sense that plain orange awnings would be acceptable?
I'm willing to approve the awnings with no lettering, yeah.
Or you could withdraw if you want to discuss with the client.
I think we'll go right now with the awnings without the lettering, and then if we want to reconsider, we'll
Okay,
come back
so
to the
I need
to
to
the
mark
board.
this up.
Any public comment on the awnings? You guys comfortable? or-
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'm going to make a motion that we approve the new awning color for Hampton's Hot Yoga for plain awnings over each window.
Second.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm just about finished. Okay.
That's it for signs.
Next, written decisions.
We are still drafting a decision for 24 and 28 Gin Lane, which will be ready for your next meeting, but it's not available this evening.
Moving on, Beechwood Latch LLC, 101 Hill Street.
This evening, you have a continuation of the Terry Cottage alterations, the latch, and presentation for the condos, and therefore I deferred on the decision of the previously held meeting on this to make sure that we don't have an overlap and we've covered all our bases on the decision.
So these are all May 13th, right?
Correct.
Next, Ionis Zumas, 10 Captain's Neck Lane, driveway gates.
Decision in the file approving the application as submitted. An affirmative vote on the motion will be to approve the application.
Do I have a motion to approve the written decision from Ionis Zumas, driveway gates?
So moved.
Second? Aye?
Aye.
Wait, I have to actually do it by roll call. So I'm saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Coburn's saying aye. Mr. Broadleaf saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next is
In the
Harwood
file,
Cottage.
you have decision in the file approving the application as submitted. I will note for the record that this is for pillars only, no gates. And the pillars as shown on the survey are not they're on the property, but they're in a right-of-way, which is not the jurisdiction of the board to determine whether that's appropriate or not, but I just wanted to note it on the record that we are aware of the fact that
You can see it from from the village
No,
right
the
of way.
Fairleigh Road right-of-way,
Is
they're in the
private.
Fairleigh Road right-of-way.
okay.
So whether or not that's an issue, we don't know, but I just want that noted on the record.
Whose jurisdiction is that, out of curiosity?
That would be the owners and whoever of the other individuals that share the right-of-way.
So should we vote on it?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
And was there a discussion about, the wattage
Got
of
the
the
wattage in there.
Yeah, that got moved.
So I will make a motion that we approve the written decision of council for Harewood Cottage.
Second.
Aye.
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 BLC Hillside Investments LLC, 132 South Main Street.
Decision in the file approving the application as submitted. An affirmative vote on the motion will be to approve the same.
We have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
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 Passfield Hall Partners LLC, 139 South Main Street. This is
Decision in the file approving the application as amended. An affirmative vote on the motion will be to approve the application as amended.
This is for the full demolition of the house.
right.
Right.
This is the one that you can't see from any public right-of-way. I tried. Do I have a motion to approve the written decision for Passfield Hall Partners LLC?
So moved?
Voting?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Here we go, Rob. Next, driveway gates non-historic. Michael
Runestein.
Brunestein, 99 Flying Point Road, driveway gates and the lights
Rebecca,
on.
tell us about lights.
Yes, and I was just supposed to, and I provided the letter on the lighting to Diane today, and she said she would give you each a copy.
I haven't seen it,
That's-
but
Oh, okay, then I have,
Well, maybe there's,
I have it right here.
It should be in the file.
If it helps at all, here's the letter, if you want to see it, or
this letter?
yes, it's that letter.
All right,
That's the letter.
why don't you tell us what it says, since we don't see
And it
it?
basically says we're going to keep it under the 25 watts you requested. It will be undermounted, downward lighting, and it will be less than 300 lumens, as you are aware, I'm sure, on each pillar.
Just remind me, it was channeled in slightly?
It's channeled in, it's basically like a counter. There's a space underneath, and it will be in that space underneath,
Got it. Okay.
between the capstone and the side of the capstone, basically.
Okay. never mind. Yeah, could you
Sure.
put,
Do you have one
Here,
that you can
I
put
do
out?
have
there is a,
a picture of the
Schematic.
pillar, a picture of the gate, And then the
Give a copy of the letter, just showing.
the copy of the letter is right here. And here's the tear sheet also, shall I give you?
The tear sheet is great. Okay.
And then also, if you want to see pictures, all the neighboring properties do have
That's
pillars
all right.
with lighting. Okay. Okay.
Except they're upside down.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Here, sorry.
Sorry. It's almost over, I swear.
Okay, thank you.
Cheryl, I think the important one to get is the second to the right, over to the right from those, just to get it on the video. Yeah, that one right there. That just shows the light, and that will be
All right, well,
mounted in.
I
Okay.
don't have I think this is, thank you for bringing the information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there
Okay,
anyone from the public who wants to talk about the gates at 139,
99 Flying Point.
99 Flying Point Road? No, in that case,
I'll make a motion that we approve the gates, including the lighting for 99 Flying Point Road.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Aye.
great, moving ahead. Public hearings, non-historic. Herman Lamison, 153 David White's Lane, construct addition and exterior alterations.
Good evening.
Hi, your name, please?
DeVito?
Oh, we've got small sets?
No color?
I have a small set. No, no color today. We're going with this Bailey mahogany with the silver mix.
Keep the standard of those.
So now you've taken away the blip,
We've taken away
the tall thing?
the shed roof, the gable roof. We constructed a simple flat roof house, meeting the side yard, the pyramids. We're still at our 750-foot addition. We just simplified it. We ran Sapele mahogany through the house. We still have the dark trim and the black window, black fenestration and doors. They were all black boarded. Very simple.
Well, I'll say, first of all, thank you. I think this is very responsive. And I think I liked the direction you were going before. As you know, I didn't feel it came together. I feel this is very coherent. I think this plan makes sense of the upper level of windows everywhere around the property now. And it also makes that very broad chimney, which was a little awkward next to the traditional form. It fits with the modern form now. I don't think you've changed the chimney size, but it just fits. There's a rhythm to it. I think it's very pleasing, and I appreciate the effort. I really do.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being so responsive and giving us a better plan. It looks good.
I thought it was my shirt this time. I guess it is the drawing, huh? All right.
Jeff, what did you think?
I like Frank's shirt.
My wife made me wear it. I swear it wasn't my first choice.
Susan, what do you think?
I think it's a vast improvement. And
Let's just end it with a positive
that's,
approval
you know,
and
Frank,
get
I'm
me out the
not
door.
full of positives a lot of the time, but I think it looks more like at least a cohesive, it's a little disjointed, but I'm willing to overlook that house. And I think the fenestration is, if you wanted those high up windows, like clear story, I don't know, it's on another,
When people want dysfunctional, they call me.
okay, well, hopefully I can stay in my house. It is a little, where they connect, I hope you'll plant a tree. But in general, you did make a huge effort to change it, so. Probably be willing to say yes. Anyone from the public have anything to say about this house, the redesign?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application for Herm Lamison at 153 David White's Lane.
Second,
Aye.
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 Thank you.
You did it.
Thank you.
Keep the originals.
Next, Anthony Albanese, 64 Armand Street, construct two-story single-family dwelling.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, fine, thank you.
I'm Anthony Albanese, I'm the homeowner of 64 Armand. I was unable to be here at the last hearing, I was traveling, but I wanted to make it here tonight. I did watch the video, so I saw all of the concerns that were expressed at the last hearing, and Lucy and I have worked together over the past few weeks to try to address them. So we just wanted to, we made some significant changes, so we wanted to walk you through it. Let's start with the exterior.
And by the way, the exterior really is our only concern.
Right, now I understand that, so we can actually just go straight to the exterior.
And that includes the roof.
Yes, yes, and I'll
We
walk you.
included the roof.
It was a roof plan now, which there was not last time. So if you look at the exterior, the front of the house, the first thing we did, there was this very large chimney all the way to the left, so we removed that, it's gone. And I know the board members expressed concern about that. It was for the purpose of having a fireplace on the porch, but it was such a big chimney. And really, when you look to the front of the house, it really extended the house far to the left unnecessarily. So that's gone now. We removed it all together. I don't know if you have
This chimney.
this is what it looked like before. The chimney was
Right.
on the left. So
Okay.
so that's gone.
It's really helpful in these plans if you put the,
This is the old one, that's the new one.
Do they have the small one of the old one?
it's all
Yeah,
right,
I
let's
just
just keep
handed him.
moving, but it just,
Okay.
there's a lot of pieces of paper.
Yeah.
And because you put it in the file, it'd be nice if we could not rifle through 12 pages.
agree.
Okay, but keep going, you're
Okay.
doing a good
The
job.
facade, though, of the main house is exactly the same.
No, so then so the chimney's gone. Then the second
Well, in
thing.
terms of its dimensions.
Oh, yes, the dimensions, except the roof has changed. So the house used to have 4 gables, 2 facing Armand, and then there was an east and a west gable. We removed the east and the west gable, so the house goes from 4 gables to 2 gables. That shrinks the top of the house and removes a lot of the volume, because there was some concern about this. Looked like there was a 3rd floor, which there wasn't, but I think it gave that appearance.
Right.
So we removed the east and west gables. What that does, the new look now is angled, whereas it was square before. So now the house is angled on the sides, and you no longer have those gables. So you basically just kind of chopped off the volume on the right and the left. at the
How
top of
tall
the house.
is the front facade at the peak of these gables? Do you know? These, if there are,
This is 32.8.
It's on the
32,
side
8 3/4.
from the grade.
Yeah, from the grade.
Did you mean inside? Were you?
No.
Okay. So that was the second thing we did, getting rid of those gables and making the top of the house angled, no longer square. The third thing we did, I know there was concern about the flat roof, because there's a portion of the roof that's flat, and there's now a roof plan.
right, but do you understand that the reason that we are concerned about the flat roof is that it boxes out and maximizes the volume?
Yes,
It's not-
yes.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a flat roof. It's
No, I
that what
understand.
it does to the volume and the scale of this house
Correct.
in this neighborhood.
So
Okay.
what we did was, no, we do understand that was the concern. So what we did is we made it smaller so that it would not, so we took away the volume, some of the volume. So if you look at the roof plan, previously, the flat
Right.
part was about 12 feet wide. We narrowed it by 4 feet, so it's now 7 foot 10 inches. And then by doing that, we brought the pitch down. So again, that takes away volume. The pitch goes, it was a 12 pitch, and now it's 10. So we made that flat part narrower and brought the pitch down again to shrink the volume out of the top of the house.
So it's easier to see on the elevation.
This shows how we,
The dotted line, that's 12 pitch, and then the heavy dotted line is the current pitch.
so you can
So
see we
you
took
can
2
see
feet away from on either side, so the flat part shrinks, and then the roof is not as steep, it's more shallow.
Well, the heavy dotted line is what?
That's the new,
It's a current pitch.
that's the new proposed.
And then you can see it says 2 feet on either side, and you can see the light dotted line. Those are the
Okay, so
original.
let me just understand, there's nothing to the left of that dotted line?
So the black line is the new lines,
New line of the roof?
the new line, right, the new pitch of the roof. So we brought it in 2 feet on each
So,
side.
again, I just want to be clear. So what you're showing to the left of that,
That's the
To your
gable,
right.
that's the north gable
that's
that
the
comes
gable?
out.
That's the gable.
So
This is the middle of the house.
This is the roof behind that gable.
Right, okay,
in the
that's what I
middle.
want to be, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And for which of these lines did you receive a variance, if
The
any?
variance was in the back,
You
on,
can
not
see.
on the Armand side. It was on the south side of the house.
You can see there is a pyramid line, it's right here.
Yeah,
That's the
on
pyramid line. So
A6.
this part received the pyramid relief.
right.
The middle
So-
of the house where the flat
So
roof
the
is.
the west elevation is when you're coming from
Moses.
Moses, the extension of Moses, what I call the extension, from the railroad tracks.
Right,
As you're coming down
Heading
that
towards
street
Hill.
towards the village,
yeah.
that's what you're going to see.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to see that. And the variance you got was all that is showing to the right of that heavily dotted line,
Not the heavily dotted line,
No,
the solid, thin line.
the solid thin line.
Right.
Okay.
Again, that's just on the south side, and it's not, we didn't get a variance for the middle of the house. The middle of the
It's a
house
south-
is within, it was just the
Right.
2 gables, right,
Well,
right.
that's how that
But
usually
it-
works.
Wait, but if you were to.
No, when I mean middle, I mean it wasn't the whole back of the roof,
Okay.
it was just 2.
Just
But
this gable and this gable.
Bear with me a second. If the zoning board had in whatever decisions they made, granted you a variance, would there not then be a house that was more like this, without those gables on the end?
So if the variance, if we had not gotten the variance, the gables in the back, these 2 gables, and the south side, this is facing the neighbor,
Right,
not,
yeah.
not Armand,
Right.
those gables would have been a different pitch, the 2 in the back. It wouldn't have affected the look from the front of the house or the Moses side. It would have been facing south.
Well, I don't see how it would have, you're showing me a picture that shows from the west elevation, so I'm seeing something.
Well, this is right now I'm pointing to this, just because you can see
I
where
know,
the
no,
variance.
I'm more concerned, I drive down Moses Lane, so that's, okay. The people facing the south of you, that's their business, although we'll see it from, coming up from Moses. But when you drive in from the railroad tracks along Moses, it's that which I see.
Right, this
And
was-
based on my layman's view, that if you did not get a variance, the house would not have those gables.
It would
on
just
the-
be a
on the
different
south
shape.
end.
You could have gables, but it would be where the line is. There would be a
Right.
different shape, correct?
Okay. That's
So
what
I could keep the front of the house the same. Without the variance, I would have to have a different shape gable in the back.
And you'd have to pull the south facade in a couple feet.
You'd have to pull the south facade in a couple feet upstairs, right? It's not an issue, starting from here.
Right.
Starting from here.
Yeah.
Most of it would be okay, but you see where it hits it.
To me, that's problematic. I think the zoning board overstepped themselves in making that decision without addressing us, because to me, it creates a house that is incompatible and oversized for the lot.
Right, the neighbors were all in approval, I mean.
Well, I'm one of your neighbors.
Okay.
And I'm not.
The immediate neighbors who were
You've done
staring
a
at
great
it.
job with the property.
Okay,
And
thank you,
my wife and
thank
I
you.
passed in and say, gee, these folks really, they're going
Thank
to
you.
keep this house. You did a nice job with the pool. You were very accommodating to the neighbors across the street. I know the whole history of it.
Oh, good, good.
But I wish the zoning board had consulted us first, rather than having you folks go through all this, because I just can't vote for it, because I think it presents itself, despite the changes you made, it still presents itself largely or nearly as a 3-story house. And on that lot, that corner, I just don't think it's compatible. And I think you have alternatives, which I'd like to see you pursue.
Right, I mean, again, even if you change the back here, when you're looking at the front of the house, it would look the same.
Well, what's the front? Use directions.
The Armand, so
North side of
the north side, I'm sorry. So if you look at the north elevation, even if let's say we didn't have that variance on the south side, this is what people see when they drive down Armand. It would not affect this.
But the volume and the size of the house, they would see. Yeah?
Right, but I'm saying, but I was addressing his concern about the
Some of
variance.
our previous objections, and what I hear from Jeff is, our current objections are from some of us, is still that you have an out-of-scale, I would say, plan.
It's actually going to be smaller. I mean, this is going to be smaller than the homes around me. So the
Really?
home,
Height-wise? No.
well,
don't
square
think so.
footage-wise, it is.
We're not.
It's under the new
we're-
formula.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you've got to really,
You're pushing, because we
Yeah.
both live in the neighborhood.
Let me show you two
Rob and
pictures of
I,
the house
so
on either side of me. I'll show
I know
you.
them fully well. I mean,
32 Armand is big. It's bigger than this house.
different lots, different houses. The house immediately to the south is a small house, and I know that neighbor is accommodating to you. The house across the street, which we passed, is a 1.5 and 2-story with a small addition. Anthony, I appreciate you showing me the pictures, but
Okay.
I drive by there every day, so, I know the houses.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know the
And
house
you-
on
and
Moses
you
is
can-
much bigger than me.
You
Right.
can cherry pick a dozen houses in the neighborhood and come up with half of them that might fit. But within that particular corner, in those corners, quite frankly, it doesn't. And again,
Right.
I am a little bit miffed that the zoning board, I believe, did
You think
not
they exceeded their
coordinate this.
jurisdiction?
And it's unfortunate that, well, it may befall upon you, but, I mean, right now, this house presents itself as being out of scale.
I'm not sure Jeff's saying that they exceeded the jurisdiction. We have just different jurisdictions. And
I'm saying exactly what I said, Rob, which is that I regret that they did coordinate their efforts with us, and had they followed a coordinated procedure, then I think for the village's benefit and for the applicants, we wouldn't have this discussion and take this much time. We would have had a more collaborative discussion as to what the house could be or should be.
I mean, the lot, it's 0.6 of an acre, so it's one of the larger lots in the neighborhood. And one thing I think just to point out, which I know I'm not, you know the house, so I'm
That's
sorry that I'm
okay.
saying it anyway. But
No, that's okay. Not everybody on the
But
board
the one good
does.
thing about the lot is a full block long. It extends from Moses to Henry. It's a very long lot. It's 0.6 of an acre. So the one good thing, I think, is there's no house next to me. You drive down Cooper's Farm and it's one house on top of the other. No, but I'm just saying there's not a house right next to it.
there are houses nearby this
Anthony, I
small
appreciate
lots.
it, but now you're pushing credulity. There's a house immediately, which looks a fair amount like your house. I'll give you that much. There's a house immediately to the east of you. There are 2 other houses. Now, if you draw an imaginary line at where Henry Street would intersect, that's fine, but
I'm sorry. The house to the east of me is 300 feet down, is my point. It's not directly next to me.
you said there was not a house next to you. There's a house next to you. There's a lot next to you. There's a house to the, so
Okay,
let's.
I think you
just-
misunderstood what I was saying. What I was saying is, the lot is very long. So what I'm saying is, like, when you drive down some streets in the village, the homes are very close together. I wasn't saying there's no house ever again. What I was saying is, the next house is 200 feet from me. So my point was just that it's not congested. That was the point I was making.
I think on that corner it is congested, because your house is right on the corner. It's congested enough where you had to get a variance to,
On the south side, on the south side.
well, you needed a variance because you're building a house that is beyond the envelope.
It's not beyond the envelope, it's,
Well, then you don't need a variance. So it's either beyond the envelope and you needed a variance, or it's within the envelope and you don't need a variance.
All right, well, I'm going to go back to ZBA, because we spent, like you said, a lot of time and money, and
It's-
if they see
and-
their jurisdiction, I mean, that's,
No, it's not that. It's
We have
just-
different jurisdictions.
We have a different perspective of how it looks.
right, you're saying if they'd collaborated with you, it would have been, I
Right,
understand your
but
point.
We have
I'm
no
not-
control over what they do, but he's saying that they have allowed you, or they have given you the impression that you could build a house that's bigger than probably what we think you should build, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
I
exactly.
mean, in layman's
one of the
terms.
challenges to the 0.6 of an acre lot here is that it's very narrow. It's long and
It
narrow.
is, it's a long and narrow lot.
So one of the concerns that we raised last time is that by maximizing the finished interior heights and therefore the total exterior height of the building, you've gone up basically to the height limit, and you've got a house that is only a little bit further off the street than it is tall. If this were a thickly settled village street, and I know it is in some ways, but if this were downtown with houses cheek by jowl and close to the road, that kind of looming facade might seem more in keeping with the neighborhood. I think what you're hearing is a feeling in this neighborhood that that level of height relative to the distance from the street is not in keeping with the neighborhood. There really aren't other houses that have that essentially one-to-one proportion between height and setback. And that creates the appearance of a very large house in a neighborhood that doesn't have many houses that look that same way from the street. The house down the street from you is set back further. In fact, it's got 2 hedges in front of it, but it is set back further than your house.
Right, I mean, I think all the homes on Moses have the same setback as me. And I mean, I won't bore you with them, but Lucy has a list of them. A lot of them are the same height, some are, a foot smaller, some are 2 feet taller. I mean, so.
Well, one of the, the maximum that's set out in the zoning code and the therefore theoretical rights that people have are great, but we're charged with maintaining a look and feel that's reasonable and coherent and consistent, and where things aren't incompatible. And I think you're getting a sense that some people on this board feel that in this neighborhood, this is incompatible because of the height and the way it looms on the property. It's a function of the narrow lot and trying to get a large house onto that lot, which, I hope you can get in some way, but this particular design is problematic. I appreciate the changes that were made. Moving the chimney was a good idea, and it looks better where it is now. And I like the finish. You were responsive on the fenestration on the south side.
Yeah, the windows, we changed the windows on the south.
So I appreciate all of that. But I think what you're hearing particularly strongly from some of my colleagues is that this height issue. Is that right?
It's amazing, the immediate neighbors love it. I understand you don't like it, the immediate neighbors love it.
It's the scale, and to the extent that scale has several components, which including the measurements, height, width, length, depth,
Right.
volume, all those sort of things, that yes, the overall scale of it is more than what I think is harmonious with that neighborhood. I recognize you want to build a house as large and as you can. I recognize that you went to the ZBA. I recognize that the ZBA had good intentions in doing what they did. But at the same time, the net result of that, or the end result of that, is that you have presented us, and in my view, a house that is a bit out of scale. There are other examples of houses on similar lots. There's a house on the corner of, I think, Henry and Howell on the south
Yeah, that house is like
east
half
side.
my lot. Yeah.
It is a narrow lot.
That house, you can touch the backyard and the hedge. It's crazy how big a house they put on that corner.
So, anyway,
Right, that lot is half the size of mine,
Yeah.
or maybe a third the
So-
size of mine.
again, I wish you could come back with something that is within the envelope and a bit smaller in scale.
We did prepare the 3D drawings again, and this time I actually added the hedges in, so you can see that the
Yeah, but you
I
see
hate to
that
say
it's this
it's
big
true view,
looming
but-
thing.
There's a new house on the corner of Bishop. Do you know the house on the corner of Bishop and, right when you go over the train, there it's for sale now. If you come over the train track, the condo development's on the left, it's on the left.
Yeah, yeah.
It's on a corner.
Yeah.
It's on the corner of Bishop.
Right.
It's a little bit smaller than my lot. It's a half an acre. It's so much bigger than this and so looming.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe unfortunately for you, fortunately for the village, that was done at a time when the zoning laws were a little bit more generous. And again, I can't recall what my vote was on that house, but
It's just funny.
I'm
So I drive
sure
around
they-
and they're all bigger than mine because they were all, all the recent homes. So it's funny, this home is already smaller and scaled down, and all these homes on Moses, maybe they're all,
a lot of those, part of the reason that the trustees changed the zoning
they
code,
don't like the look of any of them.
well, it's not that, Anthony.
Too big.
And again, by all rights, you're a good neighbor, so
Yeah.
this is not against you, but the village trustees, just within the last year, reduced the GFA, which had an impact on the size of the house. So there's a move towards smaller houses.
No, I get that.
And so what's on Moses Lane on those various
It's all
lots,
relevant.
it's relevant but up to a point.
Right. And I guess the frustrating thing is, I relied on the ZBA opinion, put a lot of time and money into it, and I think what I'm hearing is you shouldn't have relied on the ZBA opinion. And that's just frustrating, because I didn't know, obviously, we got the,
We didn't know either,
right, I know you didn't know
Okay,
either.
just
No, I
saying.
understand, you didn't know either. But it
Can I
would've saved
ask you,
me-
Mr. Albany, when you make the presentation to the Board of Appeals, did you have the exact drawings of this house? Was the board aware of what the house looked like?
Yeah. They had everything. We've scaled it down since then, but they had it.
And you mentioned that you'd go back to them?
I don't know what to do at this point. I have inconsistent opinions now, so it's a little confusing.
I'm just wondering if you did go back to them, what relief you'd request?
I don't know.
Okay. If you do go back to them, make sure that they refer it back to this board.
Before you get all making huge
You can understand
plans.
my confusion.
No, I feel bad for you,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I just feel like
that
I spent
doesn't-
so much money on this and so much time, and had they said to me 3 months ago, I went before them in January,
No, I know.
this doesn't work, then I would have,
Well, they wouldn't have told you that because there's a different standard by which they grant variances, but the point is that recognizing that this might have had a visual or aesthetic
But they
or
had to have
architectural
it.
impact on the
right.
Neighborhood.
on the decision of this board, they might have said, well, why don't you go to the ARB first
back.
and let us have their input before we make a decision,
Yeah.
in which case this would have occurred. You would have not have spent more time in front of the Board of Appeals, and then your plans would have eventually reflected the fact that there wouldn't have been a variance.
Actually, we were told by the building department we could not stand here until we get our variance decision.
But we didn't tell you that either, so what can I tell? I don't actually think
No,
that
I
that's
was-
what they
I was
told.
told by the building department.
Lucy, this is one of the things.
Yeah,
and,
we're not going there.
Rob and I have had chats about this, and unfortunately, you've got,
Or it's like, which do you go to first is kind of, right. I
But we
mean,
don't have a protocol in our code.
Right, the process, they
as
do
to
tell you
preference.
to go to the zoning first, but I hear what you're saying. Had you been part of the process, you would have had a different opinion. I hear what you're
Let
saying.
me ask you
Yeah, because
this.
it allows you to, it makes it out of, already, it's like a given that it's going to be out of scale, because it's going to, there's a reason why you had to ask for it, honestly. It's like I call it the original sin, and then you can move on from there.
Let me ask you this. Is there anyone on this board who doesn't like the overall style of the house or objects to the overall
Well, I
style?
think
Forget
it-
the size or the massing.
I think that the length of the facade, the presenting facades with the not-so-big roof is a problem. That is, the problem is that they want to have this maximized living space. I get it, but that's the thing that I think
That's-
we don't like.
What I'm wondering is if this house in very similar form were
Shrunk
a foot and
down a
a half or
little.
2 feet shorter, do you
Yeah.
think that would make a
Not a
difference
foot
to
and
you?
a half, but like 2 or 3 feet, that might help, yes.
Well, I guess if we could do this house without utilizing the pyramid variance, that would probably, I think I'm hearing that.
Oh, I don't
That's
know.
wrong phraseology.
Okay.
It's not a question of whether you got the variance or not, it's a question of designing a house
It fits
that
in
the
the
board
neighborhood.
finds appropriate.
No, I understand that, but what I'm
Probably
hearing
wouldn't-
is,
And that house probably wouldn't need a variance.
It might, but
That
lesser.
wouldn't necessarily-
lesser.
right, I'm just saying the kind of the reverse of what you're saying, but I think the same thing. I'm saying
is
if I
the-
didn't need that variance,
Is there a prohibition from making it a little 3 feet shorter and less presenting? I don't know. To me, it's that it has a kind of standing up so tall with this big flat facade, and then these, roof that doesn't, if you drive around, you'll see that since they changed the GFA and there's been discussion about flat roofs, that there's that these short roofs are used to maximize the mass of these houses, but it's not an architectural style that we like, and we're moving away from that. That was just and with the reduction of the GFA, we're moving more toward that. We had to do what we had to do before, and people built stuff, but
Right.
those are evidence of what was wrong, really, and there are a few of them. I know of two.
there are a lot of these. I hear you saying moving away from it, though. I mean, there are just 2 that were just approved. They're going up on Bishop. I just drove by one today. It looks just like
Well, it
this.
wasn't just approved, because I don't
It's just
remember.
under construction. They just started
Yeah,
building.
but they hold these plans,
Yeah, maybe they did, yeah.
People tried to come in before the GFA reduction. What about you? Is that what you think?
Yeah, see, I mean, I think that the biggest concern here, if I had to boil it down to one thing, is what I said before, the ratio of the sort of the height of the house to the setback.
Yeah.
You're pretty tight in that end
So
of
if
the
it comes down a little
property.
lower, that might address your
It might.
concerns.
Yes.
It might.
Even if you look at, where's
Yeah.
your thing, your renderings with the hedge?
Oh,
Yeah, you can kind of, it's not like a
3D,
secret.
you mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a secret that it seems to be, it just doesn't seem like it belongs there like that.
This is too short.
I mean, it's
The
a
roof-
classic
the roof is
Southampton-looking
too
house, you
And
know,
it's
it's
done
not...
to
You
maximize the
often see
volume of
these,
the
though,
living
on
quarters.
lots that
It's like I
have
said, they're
more
being
depth
built
to them,
from the
or a little
inside
more
out.
setback to the side, so it's that aspect of sort of looming over both the streets. You're on a corner, so looms a little bit
Right.
over Armand, has a feeling of looming a little bit over Armand, and a little bit also on Moses.
I mean, so you think if we just made it a little bit lower, that might...
That would
It might
be,
address it.
that would be
It might
helpful.
address it,
And if
because
you,
that's
And keep
sort of
all the
scary.
GFA. It's not going to affect the GFA.
Right, doesn't affect GFA, just the
Volume.
ceilings will be lower, maybe upstairs, wherever it is.
yeah, I
Right.
just,
Right.
I know that's a big ask, but I think that would be helpful.
We're trying.
I know you are, I hear you, I hear you.
We're trying to.
We are
And my
too.
only frustration is just because I feel like I'm getting inconsistent, it's not, it's just, I'm trying to balance everything as best we
Right.
can. mean,
Well, I
that's-
think the last time we were pretty emphatic about that it was, the volume of it was too big.
Right, and we thought, by, again, getting rid of the gables, I think helped. I mean, it didn't
Does.
get you all the way,
Right.
but I think it did
Does
help, because that did make it more
But do you
square.
see what we're saying about how there seems to be, that the roof is so, is not, that you have this big
Proportional.
facade, and then you
It's
have
out of
these dinky
proportion.
dinky roof?
It's out of proportion.
It doesn't really look like,
It's like a
drive around, look at
townhome
houses
more.
that weren't so interested in maximizing the volume, and
It
you'll
just
see.
says we want a lot of height
Yeah.
inside, but we don't care what it looks like outside.
There, this one in particular. See, it just, drive around and,
So you're getting a lot of
I mean, again, when I drive around, I do
That's
see a
the
lot of
trouble.
these, but I hear you, they may have been approved under prior plans, because there are a
Right.
lot that,
well, we're not,
And some of the concerns that the trustees are addressing and that we feel on the board is that the 1 or 2 or 5 of those may have been fine. We're seeing sort of a few dozen
Right,
like
right.
that. And it's changing the look and feel of some neighborhoods in a way that we
And
think might be
people
incompatible with the village.
I mean, look, also, you could, if you could make the house a little lower and the roof a little bit
that's. I
longer,
think
you're
that
saying
would
sort
be-
of proportion.
Yeah, I think that would be a big help.
I just want to
Started
ask a little
there.
bit about the flat roof. We have this a little bit
Are you
flat roof.
putting solar up there?
Yeah.
Yes, we would like to
How
put
much
this-
solar, now I've had discussions about it. How
so-
much roof is required for the solar?
We actually by code not required, but Mr. Anthony wants to go green.
That's
And,
fine, but how much, like
so
how many
we have-
panels?
I put it down there.
14.
You
I
know
put
how
it down.
many is,
I put 14 panels on it.
yes, but actually, the building department knows what the requirement would be if you're under the restriction, even if you're not.
We are under the restriction, we're not required to put the
Right, but
solar on it.
some people want a big flat roof and then only part of it is, I hate those. I think, want to see the problem with your house? It's right there if you want, I'm not telling you not to do it, but if you had to go like this, that would bring the roof down and the whole thing would be
That's
different.
the same.
Well, it would make
yeah.
it more shallow, it would make it, which we
Well,
did a little
no, but
bit.
then you'd have to pitch it down a bit.
That's only change the pitch front to back. It doesn't really change the pitch side
Well,
to
you
side,
need to
though.
pitch it down, but these flat roofs allow you to max it out, even so that
Right.
a house that had a ridge line now has a flat roof and then 2 ridge lines, correct? That are, that's part of the problem. You can do that, but you need to do something to address the roof and the height, is what I think, if you want to have that.
We can still have the
Because
flat roof.
it's come up.
If they are okay with the total look, you're okay with this?
I don't hate the look of your house, I just hate that it presents as a big, tall thing with a little hat on,
With a
kind
little
of.
roof.
Yeah. I actually think it'd look better if you do that. But anyway, I'm not telling you how to do it, I'm just saying what I'd like. What I think is, I find, is that it presents as a big facade in a place where it's too big, and also the roof looks too small, which is, so so I don't know what you're going to do, but are you asking us to adjourn to our next meeting?
Sounds like it.
Please.
Sounds like
Offer you
You've been
can't refuse.
good-natured. I mean, I don't know what to tell you,
Fine.
except you
I'm trying my hardest.
you don't have the votes.
No,
We're not gonna
that's why I said,
approve it.
I think it does help
Okay,
our
so-
journey.
We'll buy you a drink at some point.
So we're,
I'm glad you are happy with what I've done with the property. I put a lot of effort into
Yeah.
it.
so are you
Sure.
asking?
I think we'll get there with this.
For an
I'm just
adjourn-
trying to listen to figure out how to deal with
For
it.
an adjournment until May 13th, our next meeting?
Is that your next meeting?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to make a motion that we accept the applicant's request for an adjournment to May 13th.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Lucy.
The next application, Captain's Neck Realty LLC, 509 Captain's Neck Lane has been adjourned. Is there a letter? What, it was already adjourned? Okay, never mind. Next,
Hold on a moment, sorry.
Karen and Robert Kelly, 45 Meadowmere Lane, construct two-story single-family dwelling with attached garage and attached pool house.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The applicant, John Jacob Rose Architect.
And Scott Rose?
As you may recall, we were here at the last meeting. So in the file is all the affidavits and mailings. And we went through a list of some suggestions. And contrary to what my wife says, I do listen.
He's got silver.
So we've just handed up.
Yes.
You got small plans that are
We
coming?
do.
Yes.
Thank
They
you.
just went up.
It must be amazing. I'm not opening that big thing up now, thank you.
Do you want the big file ready to receive?
No, I just want a little plan, because I looked at the big one, but I don't have all that paper out.
Those are the little ones. Hand them over.
the little, that's the little one.
Oh, these are the
Yes,
little
those
ones?
Yeah, the big ones are big.
Oh, yeah, they're like as big as that
You want to take a
table.
look at, I've already
They're
seen it, I can
half
share it
size.
with, yeah.
Look at those Cs.
Oh, from the dust.
What page are we on here?
I would go to A19,
Yes.
which is the south elevation, the street side. So starting with the bell tower, which originally had a copper roof on it and 3 doghouse dormers, we've now gone to a cedar roof and oval dormers.
Metal dormers on the,
Yeah, the top is going to have to be metal.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to have to flash it in like a copper pan, but you won't, quite frankly, see the top.
I think it says it's cedar. Yes, it does, red
Okay,
cedar.
okay,
shingles.
good, okay.
Okay,
We then, jumping around a little bit, the porte cochere, we originally had oval windows there, and we had on either side of it, that was a vertical tongue and groove 1x6. That's been omitted, and now we're going with cedar and rectangular windows there.
so you've really simplified this.
The third thing was the conservatory, which is on the south front there. We reduced the overall height. It used to stick up above the front covered porch. There were some transoms above the windows that were extra tall, and it was white.
paneled.
We have now shingled it. We reduced dropped it a foot or so, and that roof will also all be cedar.
Those oval windows work in your
Yeah, I think it looks pretty.
A little less room up there, but I think it's going to work well.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, when we took them out of here, I was originally worried, remember we had them here, and it was going to be too much. But
You were
now that
right.
it's there, it's kind of special.
Yeah.
This will blend in
And
more.
those
That's much
curved
better.
hooded
Those-
roofs go with the curve of the bell rather than the
Fine.
angular dormers.
I think it looks much better. Was there anything else? I can't remember exactly.
That was it.
All right, well, I think you did a very nice job, Mr. Rose.
It was
Thank
everyone
you.
in the office. And a client that was willing to
What did they
listen.
think? They were
They
cool
were
with it?
fine with it. Yeah, they wanted the original, but they understood.
Actually, sometimes they, in the end, they think, yeah, they were right.
Sometimes.
Is there anyone in the public who wants to speak about this plan? Which is
I speak for myself, but I think others, we appreciate the responsiveness. We knew it was a lovely, amazing house to begin with. We had the concerns we did, and this is very responsive, and it looks great. Really
Thank
looks
you,
great.
and I think there were a lot of good ideas flowing around, so it worked well.
Great, well, that's very nice of
I
you.
liked it before, and I like it better now.
I like it much better.
There you go.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the plans for Karen and Robert Kelly at 45 Meadowmere Lane.
Second,
Aye.
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 Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so responsive. I think you did a good job, and it came out nicely. All right.
Do you want extra sets?
Whatever you don't want, we'll try to recycle.
Jeff, do you have a set?
No, exactly.
Oh, okay. Yep, thanks.
Next, Emily R. McCarthy, 63 Hunting Street, amend prior ARB decision for window revisions and garage extension. They've got small sets.
Yep, okay. Dave Harvey, D&D Harvey Architects for 63 Hunting.
Keep those two, pass those on.
You want one of these,
No. Zach, you want?
Zach?
I've already seen
Why
it.
don't I open it?
Thanks. Okay. Okay, so we were before this board a while ago, almost a year ago. Got approvals for the house, and in the there was quite a delay in getting started with the house. PSC&G would not turn off the gas, but in high insight, our clients lived there for a season and felt that they wanted a little bit more southern exposure, which is on Hunting Street. So we had changed 2 window types on Hunting Street.
You
And,
just decided to change them yourselves
well, no, the client asked for them to be changed.
without, my concern is that we spent time approving the plan we all agreed upon.
Yes, so if you
And
would,
then
we would like to
just-
walk you through the
Well,
changes.
could I finish, please? Obviously not. Okay,
I'm-
go ahead.
Well, I think there's an issue here that needs to be addressed up front.
I was trying to
And-
get to it.
And whether or not we hear you out,
We have to
leave
hear
it up
them
to the
out.
boards. Okay, I mean, I'll hear you out, but there's an issue here that in the 4 years that I've been on the board, it's only within the last 4 months that we've had plans, buildings built in ways other than what was approved, even to the point of having 2 buildings demolished. So we have, I know you're asking for an amendment, but somebody conscientiously, without any conscience, constructed a house that went against that which you so diligently, and you did come back a few times to get approval. So in my mind, this is an existential vote. I'll hear you out, but please understand that it's more than a plan, it's more than an amendment. The house was constructed against what was approved. And so you're coming here to ask us, it's not the client's wishes. Somebody did something with intent. And I don't know, just continue on, but that's,
Okay, so-
that's the hole you're fighting from, Dave.
We understand. So,
Okay, and so don't couch it in any sort of,
no, I would just like to
Okay.
present
Okay.
where we are.
right.
Okay, so the size of the house has not changed, the style of the house has not changed, the volumes of the house have not changed. There are 2 window types. One was a casement, single casement, that proved to be, it was an oversized casement.
Can you say where these were located?
Yep, I'm going to,
Sure.
perfect, yeah.
Is it
So-
B, is it F? Which
Yep,
one?
so it's the E unit on A4. We'll just go to,
A4.
so what we've done for you is we've bubbled what was approved, So basically, the two elevations are the hunting and Pierpont elevations. So the house consists of a corner tower that had a large, kind of oversized awning window on the first floor, and that window was repeated in the living room, both on the same elevation. So in the drawing above, you see that those windows were increased in size to get more light from the south. So in doing so, we've replaced that large F unit with 3 E's, and we're repeating the rhythm. We have kind of a little colonial house here with a glass box in between. So we've taken the 3 punctures above and translated those fenestrations straight down. And in the tower, we've increased the lower window using that same fenestration, but keeping it centered in the mass. So we feel like we're keeping the same architecture by trying to answer our clients' wishes of a larger window. The other 2 windows, there was a large window facing Pierpont, which was in a master bathroom.
Which elevation, sorry?
Okay, so we're still on A4?
I know, but no,
Oh,
east, south,
front.
west, north, pick a direction.
It's east, so it would be, it's on Pierpont. So on the second floor of this building here, there was a triple window that matched the kitchen window below. That was too much window for that bathroom, so we've just matched the fenestration and the rhythm of the second floor window. So we're not changing the architecture. We're trying to address the owner's
I
wishes to
beg
have a
your
larger
pardon, you
window.
are changing.
You are actually
You are
changing the
changing the
architecture.
architecture.
Fenestration is
Please don't tell us that you're not, because you have.
Radically.
The forms haven't changed, but the detailing and fenestration is an important part of the detailing, so.
Okay, so then, as you can see in the renderings, there's a large dense hedge around the entire property. So the units that are actually seen from the road are these 2 units we're speaking of here.
We don't use planting to hide architecture, so.
No, I'm not planting to hide the architecture.
Well,
The planting exists. The hedge has been there. The street trees have been there.
But there's also a
Nevertheless-
driveway opening through which all of these windows will be visible. All of them.
it's not, we approved a plan. Hiding it or saying that a hedge, you wouldn't see it, is not really a good excuse. I'm not going there. That is, no one can give that as an excuse.
Okay, I'd like to put on the record, I have not planted the hedge. The
It
hedge
doesn't
exists.
matter. I'm telling you that landscaping is not, from this board's point of view, something that is used to obscure whatever, even existing, what's behind that hedge, if it's a building that we had something to do with approving.
A subsequent owner could come in and remove the hedge. That's the issue.
Okay, so
So the
It's more
architecture
than that.
will remain. Well,
Anything could happen. The hedge could die, who cares? But we're
That's
here
what
to
I'm saying.
deal
That's all I'm
with
saying.
what you're building.
Was there a change to the, I saw one rendering that seemed to imply there was going to be a change to the center window over the front door on the east elevation.
no, that window is this window here.
Yes.
And what happened was the proportions changed to get 2 operable units on either side. It had 3 operable units. So instead of a third operable window, we have a divided light picture pane in the center.
What page are we on with
It's
that?
on A4.
Four?
A4. All the changes are on A4.
Okay. So I did see one version, though, in the file that had no mullions on the center, but this one that you've handed out tonight has mullions.
Yes, and it was always intended to have mullions.
So there's just some change in the framing to accommodate 2 operable windows on the sides.
And keep the divided lights the same proportion,
Okay.
basically.
Thank you.
So it's, and I also just wanted to show this image. This was this was a change that was in response to the board's comments and what was approved. We took out those large, and I believe the board's terminology was kind of postmodern fenestration and put more classically proportioned windows. So we had three
Sorry,
openings.
which elevation are we on now? Which direction? This? North?
It is the north elevation. So nothing on the north elevation has changed from what was approved. I'm just showing this because in response to the board's last time we were here, you had asked us to put the 3 simple fenestrations and felt that was more in keeping with a colonial structure. And that's in fact what we're continuing to do
Right.
around the corner. So we're basically keeping
Yes,
the
but
same.
once you do that, it becomes a kind of, it has a different effect. To me, I've been over there a lot of times. Okay.
This is approved.
Do you have any more explications, sir?
Oh, okay. And there's, right, so you're also changing a window on the western side of the north elevation,
North elevation.
right, to make that taller as well?
You replaced that.
Yeah,
with a
basically what
taller
we're doing is
window.
we're wrapping, we're keeping the same rhythm throughout, which is more in keeping with the, the style of architecture that those buildings are.
So that's the one change on that side.
Yes. But those are essentially,
And then on the
don't
west
face
side,
the
it's
public. Those are
three
on the
windows.
Well, okay. The one thing that to me makes sense and is unobjectionable is on the east elevation, changing the 3 combined windows on the north side of the east elevation to 2 windows. I think that's fine. I would not have approved the house with taller windows to begin with. It was right on the line, and it's a tough thing to do to balance some of the modern elements and some of the traditional elements you wanted. I thought you were very responsive and did a good job. Had you come to us back on on the amended or adjourned application last time with these taller windows, I would have said no, because it tilts the whole look and feel of this, in my opinion, to more of a modern view in a neighborhood. That the balance of the modern and traditional elements would skew to modern in a way that I don't think is appropriate in this neighborhood or for this house. And so I'm not in favor, I'm in favor of the changes of the second-story windows in every case, but the elongation of the windows on the first floor, I think, make it a very different-looking house, and whether the hedge is there or not, you're going to see it through the opening in the driveway, and I wouldn't have approved it the first time. I would not have, if you wanted my vote the first time, and that had come before us, you wouldn't have received it. And it was there was some disagreement on the board. So that's, I guess, my feeling.
Well, to speak to that, I do want you to understand that it wasn't intentional, and it was what we did present you last time we thought we were building.
Right.
So the
Yes.
owner asked for something else.
So what did you think we would, so...
we're here to present it now.
So I just, honestly, what were we doing here then the first time if that's not what you built? I would love to know.
Well, the building has not, the parameters of the building, the
I
style
know.
of the building,
I know you
the
keep
size of
saying
the
that.
building has not changed.
To me, the style of the building has changed.
Okay, so
And to be told that, frankly, I
turn
didn't vote
to-
for it in the first place, so
we
you're at a
asked-
deficit here.
we asked
Me.
a historian if taller windows, would those be typically found in a colonial
We're not
building?
asking an historian.
I
You-
am asking.
Dave was saying before you had asked, or you're saying you're asking now?
Well,
No, it's
I'd
not
like
up to you to
another
ask
opinion
Zach.
Yeah.
from your,
It's a new house. It's not a historic house.
The issue is, as I said, is twofold. And Rob put it very well, is that the board questioned the original design. We're all very familiar with the street. And Rob went as far as to say, maybe this could work. And he put himself out on a limb. And now you're coming back with a different plan. I would say it's personally insulting, but Rob can speak for himself. It surely demeans the board and its purpose. In fact, as I said, it's an existential vote. There's no purpose for us to be here. Now, I think you're competent. You're surely capable. But for a house to be built, somewhere along the line, you know, I'm not going to question your competency, but I'm not going to, and I'm not going to, she said it wasn't done intentionally, so I can't question your honesty, but somehow something was done, and you're professionals. It shouldn't have been done. We have an obligation here and a responsibility to the village. You come here before us with a public hearing. We approved something. There was discussion. I think I was going back through my notes. I think you were here 3, possibly 4 times. A plan was approved. It gets built as approved. To come back to us and amend it after it's already been built, on that basis alone, you would not have my vote. As Rob said, if you'd come to us with this plan, you wouldn't have his vote. So right now, you have no votes. Now, you may say, gee, we built this house. It's going to be a real hardship to tear those windows out. Let me just finish, Dave. And I'll refer to you to another house on Hunting Street, 54 Hunting Street. Go look at the history of that house. That house was up framed 1 week. Fully framed, foundation built, fully framed. A week later, all in, because it was built a few feet out of line. So, I'm sorry, and I don't know who ended up, swallowing it, whether it was the contractor, whether it was the builder, whoever it was, or the engineer. That's not our issue. But we do have a function here. And for builders, contractors, developers, architects to proceed ahead in total disregard, not perhaps intentionally, but the end result is still the same.
I don't believe it was total disregard, though. I take every word.
Oh, then it was done intentionally.
No, listen.
Yes, it had to have
The
been done.
architecture, I do disagree. The window, we are talking about a window
there.
design.
Listen, we're just,
Can I just say something?
yes,
Yes,
go
sure,
ahead,
sure.
Christina,
I
be
did vote
nice.
for it with, a lot of thought, but I would not have voted for this version. I would go along with on A4, where you're taking away the 3 windows and replacing them with 2 on the second floor. But the other windows are just not, it's not the kind of house that I thought I was voting for. So I'm sorry, but you don't have my vote this time.
Can I ask if the openings that you see, so we're talking about the F units, the F and E units, which is the same units, and it's doubled in one location. If those were divided light units, would that be something that you would exercise?
I'd have to see it, but I doubt it. It's the height of them that makes them look different to the traditional windows that would be in the traditional forms that you have. So you've taken a traditional form that already had some sort of postmodernist type editing of the details and cleaner lines and that sort of, even cleaner lines. But you've added in something that is it's an element of a much more transitional house than a traditional house. And, it feels, it just changes the feel of it. That's why windows are important to architecture, and it changes the feel of the house.
The eyes of the house.
Should we discuss the pool house while we're at it?
The garage.
The garage, well, it has an outdoor shower, pool equipment.
It has always had those items.
So you're asking for a bump out of
What is
4
different?
feet,
It's
6 inches?
30 square feet. It's a bump out.
Is that on the, do we have a site plan that shows that?
Yes. So on S1, we have both shown.
Yeah.
We have the approved version, and we have a bubble showing where the change has occurred.
Wait,
So just at the end of the driveway.
S1, yep,
To the
on the
right.
north end of
do you have,
the house.
Yeah.
are there any?
Two versions. You should have a paper
Oh,
put
I
together
do,
with
I
two
see, it's the
versions.
front one, I'm not used to having it in front. Yes, all right, where, okay. So now I feel like, so the bump out is,
On the north side, there is a 30 square foot bump out, and it steps back from the front facade. And it's, if you recall, this project, we could have done a much larger garage, and we decided to keep it very small. And through the construction of it, it was decided by the owner, once again, that he needed a little extra space for a bicycle and a garbage can. So this is a, let's let's see what elevation best describes that.
Way in the back.
So on A6, you can see the plan. As you can see, it's a 14 by 24-foot building, one-car garage. And we've done a
10 by 3.
3-foot by 10-foot bump out with a door, which basically garbage can sit there. So, well, it's within the setbacks, it's within the pyramid law. There's no relief necessary for this, and it's well within the allowable size of the garage that we're allowed to build.
And it's built, though, yes?
Is it already built?
The shed is on the building, yes.
Yes, yes.
I did that. I just don't know what to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well then,
Despite being in the envelope, permissible envelope, this board does have within its consideration scaling, massing, and siting. And this house is considerably larger than the two bungalows that were on there previously. While I may regret that those bungalows are not there, the approval that was, the site that was approved last time, I assume, took in those considerations of the placement of properties on the house, on the site. So even another 30 feet has an impact. And maybe in July, when you were last here or something like that, we might have said too big, too small, it fit right. I don't know. I understand it sounds like there are some issues from the neighbors. Maybe we'll hear them later on if that's the case. But again, you had a plan and you built it. Come on. You're not that naive. You're not new to this business.
We also have, we do have letters from all the neighbors,
It doesn't
That's
matter.
fine.
No, you don't.
You know.
from the
I guess your
adjoining neighbors.
neighbors.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
don't-
we appreciate that, but again, there are other neighbors who are not present here, but they can only speak if they're here. I'm glad they submitted the letters, but I think you're getting a sense here that we're really, I'm sorry, that what you presented would not have been approved then.
Can we
and it's not
present the bump out to the garage before the board now?
I
Because
have
basically,
two minds.
well, basically, the
Why
way
not-
this, we
You know, the
have,
procedure would have been to ask for,
we
it.
have,
You
we
understand
have
that.
submitted full sets of drawings to,
Yes,
again.
once the building inspector came and
Yes,
noticed
so I
that
would
the
like to
windows
discuss
were
those
different.
changes with you, and just
Go
on the
ahead.
record.
Please
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
The garage, again, has not changed in height. It sits on the property exactly where it's always been. There is a minor addition on this side. So this shed extension, which is 3 feet, houses a door, whereas it originally had a door and a window. So that just steps out the 3 feet. It's within the pyramid laws, it's within the setbacks, and it's within the size restrictions.
That's fine. Thank you.
Get it, that's not really what we're discussing.
Which I've read them. I should read them before.
Board members?
And originally, they had a garbage bin on the site plan, and they eliminated that, and they're going to use this bump out for their garbage,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there was like a,
Is it?
Maybe they could put
That's
the
a
garbage
trade.
inside. Maybe they could
This
put the
is
bicycle
this.
Not
inside.
much room.
You know,
it's a tiny garage.
This is this.
I live in a tiny house. What can I tell you? You had a
But it's
plan.
this, it's
It was
this
approved.
change that's the big change. And that just-
So we have, do you have any more to say?
Public restroom.
Yeah, I'm going to, but I wanted to. Public commentary?
Just a question, is
Please
there
step
any?
forward and state your name.
My name is,
You can step anywhere.
My name is Patricia Ross, and I live at 226 Toilsome Lane. And I'd just like to know, I'm asking the board, is there any consequence to just
Well, there's
doing?
no building permit, you know,
So we don't do
they have a stop order in a sense, because they could put in, I asked the building inspector, like plumbing and electricity, but the facade is as built.
Is commercial. I mean, it's
Oh.
not even a matter of modern.
So we don't have enforcement powers, that's the building department.
But they have been there and noticed that this was not right.
I mean,
Okay.
I think
So
one
that's
of-
how it got going. They didn't come to us. Then these people decided to have an amendment. I find,
And you just sit down while the
Yeah,
public's
please.
speaking.
No, so I'm, the question really,
No,
I
you can
really
Yes.
question what
Yes.
happens if
Yes.
somebody just goes
Speaking.
ahead and builds whatever they want after having something else approved.
precisely.
the village, you know,
You can leave that there.
Have to talk to the
Yes,
building
please sit
department
down.
or a lawyer, and it's not really the purview of this board, but there are legal prohibitions in the code for building things not to the approved plans. And there are responsibilities, depending on the circumstances, for either the architect or the builder or the owner or various parties who might have been
Have
the cause of
there's some
And it's
consequences.
it's out of our hands, that enforcement is out of our hands.
The other thing,
Well,
and
the
I don't want to
consequence
get
could be that it's not approved from this perspective, which would then require that they do what they said they were going to do in the first place, for instance.
Yes, because the first
Which would
place
be-
looked like an interesting addition.
I didn't vote for it in the first place, but I certainly wouldn't vote for it in the second place. How's that? So I find,
But that's taste. I mean, excuse me, that's
yes,
really.
but that's,
No, what you're.
that's what we had tried to deal with in the original application, was that we came to an agreement about what they were going to build was going to
And
look like.
find a-
And the idea that it's been completely changed because somebody thought that was a good idea is not okay from any perspective.
Without coming to.
And for us to spend our time doing this when we already did it because somebody wanted to do something else without getting permission is not particularly appealing to me.
Right.
So, and is that what you're saying?
Yes, I just
Okay,
wondered what the
I just wanted to
recourse
know.
is.
I think-
No, I appreciate your coming forward.
Patricia, from a practical standpoint, and again, I don't want to get into the details, because for all I know, you may go back to the original plan, but I think you would be precluded from getting a certificate of occupancy from the building department without the,
You don't get a
in
building permit,
right, well,
period.
there's a stop work order, I gather, at least limited.
Yeah.
And then I would imagine you would not be able to get a certificate of occupancy,
So you
which is a
move in.
larger issue, which means you can't get a mortgage, which
That's
means you
why
can't get a
those,
whole bunch of other
because you
things.
fixed a house up, right?
Well, yes, right.
Yeah, you had
right
to go
north of
through
it,
jump through the hoops, you know, that's
Of
why
course
they
it
have
did.
them.
And I don't have a generator because it doesn't fit onto the envelope, but I respect the fact that that's the law.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you.
So where are we now?
Is there any-
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this particular application for amending a plan?
So if not, then I would make a motion that we vote on it,
What
unless,
are you, have you completed your presentation, sir? For both the bump out and the modification?
Yes, we've completed the presentation, and we have submitted a completely, we've actually resubmitted for an amended permit. So I think at this point, all of the legal issues are taken care of. We believe it's the homeowner's right. If he'd like to change a window, he can change a window. He has to present it again, which we are presenting again. I understand the position you're in. I understand that it seems like we said one thing and did another, but I assure you that's not what happened. It is an end result, and we do have 3 windows, but as architects, we took great care in placement and redesign of the windows, knowing the board's feelings about things.
Well, I think that's
you want to
very
vote.
presumptuous of you, sir.
So as an architect, we have to answer questions
As an architect,
Okay,
in this
we're going- we're
village,
going
you
in
need to
circles.
come
Yeah.
forward.
We're going
So
in-
as I see it, my thought would be that you poll the board to find out what
Okay.
the votes are, if the applicant has enough votes for this
Okay, fine.
amendment for both of them. And if there are not enough votes, then the applicant has the opportunity to either call for a vote or adjourn the matter and reconsider
Okay.
their options.
Yeah, we would like to adjourn the matter.
Already, so you're asking
Yeah,
to
yeah,
adjourn?
that's fine,
Can
that's it.
read between the
Okay,
lines.
motion
Make a motion that we
to approve the
adjourn.
applicant's,
I would just like to make a comment. I don't want to belabor this. I know we've been on this a long time. The set of plans that I saw in there, the resubmission of this, indicates that Plans were redrawn on July 27th, a few days after the approval meeting, presumably to address some issues from the building department. Then there were two other redoings of the plan, I assume by your office. One in August and one, I believe, in October. I'll check. Those are red flags. You should know, in this village, if you're changing something materially to approved plans, that's a red flag. You need to tell the client at that point, they have to come back before us. And I'll say, I think that it doesn't help to have this done after the fact. With these particular changes, I wouldn't have approved them anyway, because I think it changes, I think these windows do change the look. I appreciate the care you've taken in placing the windows, but they change the look and feel of this house. So those red flags in August and October, someone went bolting through those stop signs. It may have been a group effort, it may have been inadvertent in every case, but that's what the plans say, was that they were revised after approval, after the permit set was drawn. That's the kind of thing that just can't happen. It can't. And so I'm saying this partly for the record for people who may be watching this at other times. When someone takes a set of approved plans and says, redo this, and it's visible from the outside, that's a stop sign. And you have to at least come back to the building department and say, what do I do here? And likely come back to this board. So just wanted to emphasize that point. So there's a request for adjournment? Is that
There's a request for adjournment, and
okay. So I'll make a motion that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn this matter.
Second.
Aye.
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 Next, Karen Rich Nadell Trust, number 1 and number 2, 91 Pheasant Close East, construct 1- and 2-story additions.
Good evening, Steve Caputo, here for the applicants, the Nadells, who are in the front row. Daniel Cantelmo is the architect, he is here as well. Affidavits, and also 5 or 6 and 6.
The other one's this?
Nadell, number 1 and 2.
Cantelmo. Daniel.
Thank you, Michelle.
This is an application for a modification to the home to add a screen porch on the back.
Okay. Sorry.
I'd like to make it more exciting, but I think, we've had enough excitement this evening.
Yeah, well.
But I'll do what I can.
Okay.
Has the work been done?
Yeah. You wouldn't know it's in the bag.
Do you have a rule about that? I apologize. There's enough levity. So it's a screen porch in the back, a covered porch, and a mudroom. The compass directions will be, the mudroom is on the east side of the, on the north side of the house. The screen porch is on the west side of the house, along with the covered porch, and then we're bumping out small bump outs on the second floor, the 2 bedrooms that would be over the screen porch. I think if we go to...
Also modifications on the front door, is that right?
Front porch. Front porch.
Well, that would be nice.
I didn't say that, did I? Now, let me, well, I want to just let's start with the site plan first, so I can just, again, so, mudroom, which is the north side.
So
This
the
is first floor.
shade, the little shadings?
Yes.
Okay.
Shaded areas are on the site plan or
I see it.
ground floor. And then when we go up to the second floor, we did the same thing on those bedrooms. Should be, not the next one. Should be A, and then A3. The other way, we have the other way, but this is where the porch is, so it comes out this way. Let's stay with the site plan just for now.
Go ahead, please.
Well, I didn't know if you had any questions before I jumped in.
No, please present your
Okay.
application.
Dan, you want to explain, I guess we should start on the northern side of the first floor.
So the Nadells had come to me and asked, number one, that they be able to utilize their existing terrace on the back, which is uncovered at the moment, and it's when the sun is on that side, it's unbearable to sit outside. Not only is it sunny, but buggy because the pond is right to the rear of the property. So that was their number one request, about having a covered, potentially screened-in porch on the back. Another thing that they wanted to do was, for one, give the entire house a facelift, because it is a 1980s stucco home. So they wanted to change. There's some concerns about the quality of it as well. Some of those stucco homes had held a lot of moisture, so they want to strip it and then reface it with cedar. That was another issue. Another thing was they had actually contemplated changing where the driveway came in because they found it difficult to access the rear yard without having to go past their pool equipment and mechanical equipment. So any guests that came in, parked on that side, and they go through a little gate towards, let's say, the mudroom or the pool area, and it was unsightly. So we proposed, not only that, there was really no mudroom in the house at all. So we proposed adding a mudroom addition, which would take care of all of those needs and enclose where the pool equipment is, as well as move the mechanical equipment so that it's in a fenced-in area. Another issue that we found in refacing the house is that on the rear in particular, there's, you can see it here, there's existing decks in two locations that basically just catch water and snow and don't drain very well and are a potential but current problem with water.
Must have had a great day today.
Yeah, because it's still there. We haven't constructed this yet, but we're proposing to build dormers and build out over those areas, basically just to cover them and eliminate any future problems with water. We are redoing the front porch, but we're not changing the shape or the footprint of the front porch.
But you're taking off that,
Yeah, we're completely taking it down.
that's nice.
And
That's good. That's the one, the part that I was hoping.
Could you point out, is it all new windows going in?
yes, they're all replacement windows.
Yep.
So that's another factor in this, in that we really were not trying to change the size of the windows. So
Don't worry, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not worried about that, I'm just wondering, but every
They are-
window we're seeing here is all new, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, typically we shade windows that are new. It just so happens that they're all shaded, so for that reason.
Okay. Because some of the locations are similar, some of the sizes seem similar, but...
So I can tell you that the majority of them are the same overall size. So you'll see where there were 3 or 4 casements became 3 double hungs. The ones that are new, the garage currently does not have any windows at all, so those are new. Up in the gables, they're new. And
The right of the front door on the second story is...
yeah, over the front door has been changed from the half round.
Pagoda, whatever that is. What do you call that thing?
Up top here?
Palladian.
That unfortunate thing.
Yeah. So
Palladian-esque.
that, I mean, in the
No,
80s, it wasn't, you know.
I know,
it was the
everyone
thing,
did
but-
it. It's just, it's amazing to me. I can't explain it. Go ahead.
And
So I think that's much nicer what you did there.
Thank you.
And I still think it marks the entrance as distinct from the rest of this rather large sprawling house.
Another thing architecturally is that the gable that you see, the new gable, is the existing gable. The new left, I'm sorry, the right-hand gable, is actually continuing the roof line of the existing dormer to give it a better presence. We had grappled with adding something over the garage, but we just felt like we wanted the double gable to really be the feature and not have it compete.
One thing that's hard to see in elevation, and it's impossible to see in plan, is can you just describe what goes on with the sort of arched roof over the second-story form above the front door? How
Yes.
it projects out a little bit, it looks like.
It does project out just enough to get the difference in the shingles to come out so that they sweep out and then
And it's just a
barrel
little
the eyebrow.
eave, a little sort of cornice eave that comes out?
It's subtle,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. What is that projection, if you don't mind, like a foot, foot and a half, something like that?
I believe it is a foot.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Should be handsome.
It's definitely an improvement.
Yeah, I think you did a good job.
Great.
Same here.
Anyone from the public want to speak on this
Thank
application?
you also for the helpful
91
photos.
Pheasant.
Yeah.
A lot of people just throw a lot of photos in, but your photos were very explanatory, both of the
Great.
existing house and the neighbors, and it was very helpful.
Oh, good.
No one? We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the application of Karen Rich Natal Trust Number 1 and 2 at 91 Pheasant Close East.
Second.
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
See?
Thank you.
Amazing what can happen here.
Yes. You can.
Really
We
is.
welcome you back. We do welcome you
Okay,
back.
we need like 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay.
She needs some water. Go get it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we did
Okay.
welcome this. Thank you.
Can't take it away from the she's just going to get some water. I don't think we need to, do we? Or-
Susan, why don't you do Beechwood Latch altogether? So either jump 5 and 3 together, or take 4 and then do 3 and 5.
Let's do them at
Why
5.
don't you do 4 and then 3 and 5?
Yeah, okay. But Christina needs to,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So we're going to go to North Main next?
No, we're going to Carol Welsh, but that's adjourned.
Adjourned, yeah.
It says to 422, is there a letter in there?
There's
Okay,
another
wait,
letter
we can't do it until
requesting
she comes
adjournment.
back.
Yeah.
Letting people. Great.
Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. So number 1 is, there's a letter, Carol Welsh, 340 Hill Street. There's a letter in the file.
Letter in the file requesting adjournment until, quote, "the second meeting in May," which we don't have, so this would effectively be an adjournment until June 13th, I believe is the date. 12th or 13th, I forget, but that first meeting in
There
June.
have been a lot of adjournments.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Does it show when this first was, do you know when this was first heard?
September. It was second meeting of September.
What does the letter say? Just asking for an adjournment?
The applicant is exploring alternative designs for the project. We have retained a preservation consultant, but that work will not be completed in time for the April 22nd, 2019 meeting. It's a letter received today.
All right. Shows they're working
So
on
I'm going to make a motion, we accept the applicant's request. but Approve the applicant's
So should we
request,
move it to June, right?
but for an adjournment until the first meeting in June.
Correct.
Okay.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Somebody should just tell them, I guess.
Well, it's not somebody, who's that?
I don't know who that somebody
nice.
is. Thanks.
Somebody.
Let him show up.
Somebody.
I say let him show up.
The building department maybe can go
Okay.
over that, the attorney. Next, Thomas and Meredith Joyce
That's already been adjourned.
adjourned. So now we're going
Jump
to
to
hear
4.
number 4, 180 Great Plains Road LLC, and hear the 2 Beechwood Latches at number 5 after that. So 180 Great Plains, is there anyone here? Well, there you go. So now we'll be moving ahead to Beechwood Latch LLC, 109 Hill Street, partial demo and rear addition and exterior alterations to existing buildings. So these people didn't show up,
For
right?
180. We don't need to adjourn 180.
You
right?
have no jurisdiction.
No one's here. Yeah,
That was the weird
yeah, because we don't have the
Oh,
affidavit.
that has that long,
That little
modern,
tiny bathroom for the tennis court, and they didn't show on the plan where it was going.
but they had a long, modern thing thrown in there for the pool house. Oh, my God, what have you got
Oh,
here?
God.
Jim McMullen from Fleetwood and McMullen, as well as
But we
Neil
have a
Cummings.
different architect every week? you
We're
guys?
collaborating.
Oh, okay. just-
And Steve was from my office. I was out of
Was?
town. Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi.
So I know there's a lot of information here, and I know it's going to take a while to digest. So I want to basically just give you all the information we have, because I know you're going to have to go
And
back.
this is- So are you giving us all the
109.
information from both beach, for 101 and
This is
18?
109 now.
109
Yes.
and 101, or we're just doing 109 right
109.
now?
This is 109.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
So 109 is the Terry Cottage. So that's what you heard last meeting. So we do have new information for all
Right,
of you.
I think the drawings we felt were inadequate. so- Yes?
I think there's plans, elevations, renderings, and we took your recommendation to heart, and what we did was, we tried to put the existing elevation on the same page as the proposed elevation, as well as some photographs of details that would explain some of the things that we'd like to do. We also met with Zach on site and got his opinion on a lot of this information that you guys requested. So let's start with. So as you can see, we've provided each elevation, the front elevation as it is existing, and then also bubbled the elements that we're addressing to change or actually replace in kind. So our main objective is to basically take all the exterior elements. There's a lot of rot, as you can see from some of these pictures. Replace that in kind, same moldings, same shingles, painted. We are changing one configuration of windows in the front, where the existing has a triple.
What direction would that be, sir?
That's the south elevation on the right-hand side. We're changing those triple window to a single and a double.
And what is the reason for that?
There's a wall that's in there that we're trying to avoid.
But
That exists?
That is new.
No, right.
So wait a minute, so we're not inside, sir.
I'm just showing you where those
Yeah.
windows are and what's causing the
Well,
the
I know
change.
what's causing it, but
Okay.
we need to look at the outside and not what's causing it. Because that is not our concern, that could be yours,
That's
right? So you're changing what, and these are, Zach? So,
Wouldn't it be easier to just put a single window there? I mean, it's a
Repeat the
colonial
rhythm.
revival
Repeat the
house.
rhythm.
Yeah.
Instead of that
but it
double.
would be
So
right where the
ganging up
wall
those-
is.
Those three windows may have been original because the house might have decided to do it that way, but I'm just saying aesthetically, if there's some interior issue from the outside, just to complete the symmetrical fenestration with a single window there would be
So they would all be exactly the same?
the same.
Do you think that's a good
Well,
idea?
I mean, that's the symmetry of a,
Oh, yeah, we saw that in another.
right? I mean, to be the same.
Yeah,
Because it's
but I
basically a
kind of
symmetrical
liked it, that
facade.
it was quirky, which is what.
So Zach, you keep the way
So
it is, except one would be a false window?
No,
Or
here.
you're saying
No,
Take
this
out the
would
middle
just be
window,
one.
basically.
Make
Take
that a
this
single window,
one.
not a...
So you'd have 4 windows, 2 and 2.
Yeah,
Oh, I
make it
see.
identical to the left side.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I find, is
I
there...
don't find the
have you-
quirkiness a problem, I'm just
I
saying.
like the quirkiness because that, but
But
do we
then there's no
know...
room for a shutter, so there's like
Correct.
some sort of awkward,
So
How
do
do
we
we-
know what was original and what wasn't, or did you look at that?
we didn't go through the inside, and it's possible that those 3 windows ganged together were the plan. I mean, because it's, in 1920, they might have built it that way.
Right.
So, but
I'm just
you're
saying
okay
to
with...
change that into something else because you have a internal issue, it seems like an uncomfortable solution to just spread those windows apart and not have room for the shutter. It just seems like something didn't work out.
All right.
It's the way it,
I hate it when quirky
And
stuff
while
gets moved.
Susan said, by all rights, we don't concern ourselves with the interior, in an historic house, sometimes I think it's almost impossible not to. And I'm not
if
saying,
it's what results in
We're
something
gonna
that
rip out the
doesn't
guts of the
read
house.
right from the outside, then you're
Yeah.
interested in
but
why.
what if there were historic elements? Let's say this was an older house and there was a
It is.
beehive stove in there, something like that. Would you allow that to be knocked out? And maybe this is not a discussion for the moment, but surely I understand what Zach is saying. Don't bastardize something for the sake of a modern interior change.
So, do we need to have you look at it more?
I mean,
I mean,
I could go inside and we could look at whether that grouping of
'cause
3 windows.
We
looks
do
like-
have a responsibility to be respectful
way.
of the original
Yeah.
fenestration, or I do.
We're fine with, no, I agree, that's fine. We
Okay,
can-
well, so we're going to need, I would ask, well, I'm sure there may be more, but certainly I feel uncomfortable just making it uniform when there might have been, and I think really it is not our concern what's inside. That's unfortunate maybe for you, but I'm sure you're a good architect, you can figure something out. And I think we just need to know because there's a lot of, it's necessary to try to save whatever is historic.
Yes.
So if this particular configuration or these windows are historic, by taking part of one away, I'm not sure we're doing such a great, be honoring the history. That might not be true, okay? So we're going to need to hear back from you about that, I think.
And it is the front facade.
Yeah.
With the back.
And we've already,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
great.
The one thing I just want to point out while we're around the front is that front enclosed porch, if you will, has been substantially reconstructed, it seems to me. It's not historic. And it's, aesthetically, it's really top-heavy, and it's kind of
It is,
strange to
yeah.
look at.
So if
So I
that
think-
balustrade was taken off?
Well, there's the...
I believe there's a pitched roof behind that,
Behind it,
behind those balusters.
yeah. So
Um,
So what
So
would,
we can investigate that and with you. and,
I had thought you might even find an early photograph of the house that might show it as it was built, because
Plain.
what's
Yeah.
there now is not original.
okay, well, that's great.
So it
I
might,
like that.
you might find something more
Respectful?
appealing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
we've been trying to find some stuff,
Okay,
but haven't
so that
haven't at the
remains.
moment.
Postcards? You're the postcard guy, right?
We do have a lot of postcards,
Yeah.
yes.
Do you have any? I mean, there must be.
Unfortunately, we don't
Wasn't
have one of
this-
either the Latch or the Terry Cottage,
Interesting.
unfortunately.
Anyway.
All right, go on, sorry I interrupted,
That's
but
okay.
I just didn't want to get rid of the quirk if there was a reason.
So again, it's kind of repetitive of the front elevation. We're showing which windows we are taking out and replacing. They might be changing locations. And the biggest change on this side elevation, which is the west, is you'll see on the very rear of the building, there's this kind of extension that is kind of a shed roof that, that doesn't look like it's actually the original to the house. So in an effort, and I'll show you the rear elevation, we're trying to get space for garage, and we have a new element to add to the back.
On that west elevation, I know in the previous elevations we saw there was a slight downward slope to the ridge of that north-south gable on the back of the house.
Yes.
But this appears flat. Have you
It
raised
actually is, and I think you saw it, it actually is sloped that way. And
So are you proposing to flatten it?
yes, so once we get in there, I think it might be a situation where things have sagged. So we're going to
Lost
address that.
4 to 6 inches of height on the back of the ridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going
Not
to address
intensive.
that when we get into the reconstruction.
Thank you.
And Jim or Zach, what were the original windows? Because you see on this side elevation.
Many.
They
They were all over the place.
Yeah.
There
What
were-
do you think was original, Zach? Or Jim, if
You
you
can
know?
look at it. They've looked at it, haven't you?
Well, the thing
Yeah.
that's kind of important to remember is that these are two different houses. So when you're looking at that west elevation, the central, the back portion, which is actually the center of that building, is a Victorian house from about 1870s period, with that sort of sharply peaked roof. And it may be that the 6/6 sashes are original to that.
Really?
As many as are still there.
Right.
Some were replaced. So the front portion of the house that is closer to the street, closer to Hill Street, is that hip roof colonial revival house, which was either a house that was moved there or simply built in that form there. And that's the one that has the 2/2s. So from the beginning, I'm trying to say that you've got different sashes.
Yeah,
Anyway.
right. Okay, gotcha.
Some have been recycled, some have been saved, so I think you basically have a couple of sash types. Very hard to read that. And then you have much more modern, sort of 70s, 80s sliders. And
From just a historical compatibility standpoint, are you comfortable with having the same windows go into that Victorian back form and the neocolonial front form, given that the cladding is going to now look similar? And is there any reason to be concerned about that from a preservation standpoint?
It might be better to preserve some of the 6/6s just for, but my question would be, are you planning on replacing these sashes with new window units?
Yes.
Energy efficiency.
So all the bubbly things are
Right.
new windows, correct?
So,
Yeah, also, as you can see, as Zach was saying, in that center portion,
Yeah.
we actually have two windows in the top. One is 6/6 and one is 2/2.
right, right.
So I'm not really sure which is
Pick a
is
window,
original
any window.
and which is
And I think we
replaced at some
found that
point.
some windows appear to have been recycled and used elsewhere on this house.
Yes.
At a later time. So it's a complex building. I think the overall sense of it, if you regularize the window types, I think that simplifies it a bit, because I don't think in this particular case, you need to accentuate how many times things got changed over the years, because it gets very complicated.
And you don't see all the facades at one point anyway. It's going to be very difficult to see the sides and
Right.
back
So,
as it is.
so what are you saying? You think
So
it's fine?
I'm saying the very fact that you have two very dissimilar houses which are joined
Yeah.
with facades that are going in and out like this, there's a lot going on.
Maybe good to have the
So I
same
think
windows.
to try to simplify that a bit with a sash type which is sort of the predominant one, in this particular case,
Would-
just seems to simplify the
Calm things
overall
down.
thing.
Okay.
And I think the
And not
front
accentuate how many
facade-
different things are going on.
But
Yeah, I would
right
assume the front
beside-
facade would be the
Oh.
governing one.
On
Yes.
either side of the back, is this the back door here?
Yeah, those are those 6/6.
Those 6/6s, what would happen if you
But
just?
that whole shed roofed area has been built out from the original
Oh,
house.
so that's
It's
just an
newer.
addition?
So.
'Cause I
and-
feel like then it wouldn't be so uniform. I have I had this in the front, so this isn't a surprise. That if every single one of these is the same, and then there's 19 condos behind it, are we disrespecting the history? Hate that word, that's not a good word.
No, I think this is a substantial recovery of this building that's been enlarged in many, many ways, and not sympathetically. to try to simplify what are its primary massing of each of the two buildings. And I think in this particular case, there are so many windows. Some are paired, some are in triples, some are single. I think simplifying this overall presentation is preferable than being archaeological about this window and that window.
But have you gone through to see, so
Well,
they're all being replaced?
I guess you're asking
Yeah.
for the actual
Are
sashes
there-
to be replaced, replicated with the type.
Yes.
Yeah. So, no, I haven't gone through it.
We need to do insulated glass as well, and,
I know, the state has some ideas other than what you're contemplating, but, okay.
Will they be wood sash windows or replacement?
Yes.
And can I ask on that western elevation, the new proposed garage on the back has columns. Are those applied to the facade?
Pilasters?
Yes.
Pilasters, okay.
Trying to kind of draw from the front facade too.
Yeah.
right?
Also, if you look on the original, around this door that's being kind of replaced, there are kind of pilasters around that door. So we were kind of playing off of that to kind of keep that element.
The side porch to the east.
To the east?
No, I was talking about the
No.
garage on the west facade.
You're talking
on
about
the
the
north
right,
side
yeah.
of the west
Has
facade.
I understand,
long
but
thing.
Yes.
element that you're replicating
Is as well on the east.
There's pilasters on the west side, though, around the door, is what he's saying.
Yes. Right here.
Am I correct in assuming you,
Oh, that little guy down there?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
in all of these, am I correct in assuming that the individual room air conditioners are being replaced with central air? Nice.
I think we can work that out.
There's a lot of poke throughs there.
Yeah, wow.